According to the National Electrical Code, specifically Chapter 3, which deals with wiring methods and materials, Article 300 covers wiring methods in general. Section 300.21 addresses raceways. Specifically, Section 300.21 paragraph 8, titled Uses Permitted, states that raceways shall be used for every conductor unless otherwise specified in this code. This indicates a general requirement for using raceways. The next sentence states that raceways shall not be used unless they contain conductors. Section 300.21 paragraph B provides exceptions to this rule. The provisions of this section shall not apply to conductors as provided in Section 300.12, open wiring on insulators as provided in Article 398, conductors in raceways or other enclosures as provided for in Section 300.3 paragraph A, conductors within switchboards, panel boards, meter socket enclosures, or other similar assemblies, and conductors as provided for in Article 408. Now, Article 358 is on cable trays, specifically Section 358.10 is on uses permitted. It says communication cables that in industrial establishments only, where conditions of maintenance and supervision ensure that only qualified persons service the installation, communication cables listed as plenum cable shall be permitted in cable trays and other space used for environmental air. It's important to consider local amendments or specific interpretations by the authority having jurisdiction, also known as the AHJ, in the specific area. Always consult with local building codes and the AHJ to confirm the correct requirements for the installation. The NEC provides a broad framework, but local regulations can add or modify requirements. Therefore, it is imperative to check for local rules. When dealing with fire-rated walls, the integrity of the fire rating must be maintained. Any penetrations through a fire-rated wall must be properly fire-stopped to prevent the spread of fire and smoke. Fire stopping is a critical aspect of maintaining the fire rating of a wall. Proper selection and installation of fire-stopping materials are essential. These materials are designed to expand when exposed to heat, effectively sealing the opening and preventing the passage of fire and smoke. The NEC and associated standards like those from underwriters' laboratories, or UL, provide guidance on acceptable fire-stopping methods and materials. The use of conduit or raceways can provide additional protection for cables passing through fire-rated walls, but the proper fire stopping of the penetration is still necessary. In the context of a water heater closet, the presence of a potential ignition source makes it even more important to ensure that all wiring is installed safely and in accordance with code. Water heaters can generate heat and sparks, so any wiring in the vicinity must be adequately protected. Furthermore, water heaters are often located in confined spaces, which can increase the risk of fire. Therefore, it is crucial to follow all applicable codes and standards when installing wiring in a water heater closet. The type of cable used for CATV, phone, and data installations also matters. Plenum-rated cables are designed to be installed in air-handling spaces without conduit, while non-plenum cables typically require conduit for protection. The NEC specifies the types of cables that are permitted in different environments. Always refer to the NEC and cable manufacturer's specifications to ensure that the correct type of cable is used for the application. It is also important to consider the routing of cables. Cables should be routed in a way that minimizes the risk of damage. Avoid running cables in areas where they could be exposed to physical damage, such as being stepped on or struck by objects. Use appropriate supports and fasteners to secure cables and prevent them from sagging or coming into contact with sharp edges. Proper cable routing is essential for ensuring the long-term reliability and safety of the installation. Grounding and bonding are also important considerations when installing CATV, phone, and data cables. Grounding and bonding help to protect against electrical shock and prevent equipment damage. The NEC specifies the requirements for grounding and bonding of electrical systems. Always follow the NEC guidelines when grounding and bonding CATV, phone, and data cables. Another important factor to consider is the ampacity of the conductors. The ampacity of a conductor is the maximum amount of current that it can safely carry. The NEC provides tables that specify the ampacity of different types of conductors based on their size, insulation, and temperature rating. Always select conductors with an ampacity that is sufficient for the load that they will be carrying. Overloading conductors can cause them to overheat and potentially start a fire. In addition to the NEC, other standards and regulations may apply to the installation of CATV phone and data cables. These may include local building codes, fire codes, and industry standards. Always check with the local authorities to determine what standards and regulations apply to the installation. It is also important to stay up to date on the latest changes to the NEC and other standards. The NEC is revised every 3 years, and new technologies and installation methods are constantly being developed. Staying informed about the latest changes will help to ensure that installations are safe and compliant. Furthermore, proper documentation is essential for any electrical installation. Maintain accurate records of all wiring, conduit, and equipment. This documentation can be helpful for troubleshooting problems, making future modifications, and ensuring compliance with codes and standards. Documentation should include wiring diagrams, panel schedules, and equipment specifications. The documentation should be kept in a safe and accessible location. Finally, safety should always be the top priority when working with electricity. Always to energize circuits before working on them. Use appropriate personal protective equipment such as gloves and eye protection. Be aware of the potential hazards associated with electricity and take steps to mitigate those hazards. If unsure about how to perform a task safely, consult with a qualified electrician. Electrical work can be dangerous, and it is always better to be safe than sorry. Therefore, the NEC states that raceway should be used for conductors unless otherwise specified. Consult the specific sections and exceptions within the NEC to determine the exact requirements for CATV, phone, and data cables in a described scenario. Fire stopping methods should be used to restore the integrity of a fire-rated wall.